Dispensing a daily dose of common sense. No.
Good morning, my friend. Hope you had a great weekend. We're just getting underway, so let's get to it. Here we go.
I don't believe in the no-win scenario. This is the
Good morning, my friend. The marketplace of ideas is open. Hope you had a terrific weekend. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. So, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on Friday suspended his presidential bid, and there's a lot of news then surrounding RFK Jr. that's going on this morning. So, if you were away from the news, he suspended his campaign on Friday, endorsed Donald Trump very much as I think, there were expectations that he would. And that's exactly what he did. And then hours later, he joined Trump on stage at a rally in Arizona. And the crowd bursting into cheers of Bobby. And so he said that his internal polls had shown what I had been talking about, certainly on this show. It's not, and I don't think it was much of a surprise to anybody, to be honest. His internal polls had shown that his presence in the race would hurt Trump and help Kamala Harris. And so that's the reason one reason among many that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. decided to pull out of the race. Before his speech in Phoenix, his campaign had said in a Pennsylvania court filing that he would be endorsing Trump for president, having his name removed from the ballot then in Pennsylvania. So in those states where it might be an issue, his name being on the ballot, because there were a number of states where he had already had made the ballot. So he had requested that his name be removed. And as I told you Friday, I thought it was a pretty clear indication that he was going to endorse Trump. Why else would you have your name removed from the ballot? Because he believes that his presence there would have hurt Donald Trump. So we have Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on Friday pulling out of the contest and his family reacting. And there are several stories this morning. You've got RFK Jr.'s sister, Carrie Kennedy, blasting him over his inexplicable effort to set fire to my father's memory. And honestly, that's just overreaction. That's just overreaction, screaming at the wind. I mean, seriously, the father's memory. I believe what I believe, and I don't do it out of disrespect for my father. Or, you know what I mean? I mean, I believe what I believe. And I mean no disrespect to my dad, who has a very very different set of thoughts than I do. So the idea that somehow now, you're tarnishing the image of their father. Really, I think the Democrat Party today has done a pretty good job of trashing what the Kennedys believed back in the 60s and what the Democratic Party is today. They're not the same thing. They are absolutely not the same thing. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. recognizes that. I'm going to say I respect that. And he's out there talking about him and Trump, and he's saying, hey, being very candid. He's not suddenly now, Donald Trump. He's like, I disagree with Donald Trump on a host of issues. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has been out there saying over the weekend. And you've got Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s brother heartbroken over the Trump endorsement. Max Kennedy has implored the public to ignore his decision to drop out of the presidential race. and just going on with the same kind of talk about Donald Trump that we have heard from the left just repeatedly. So is it Robert F. Kennedy who's a nut, or is it his family that has lost touch with the reality? Which is it? Because Robert F. Kennedy, I listened to him, and I watched part of his interview. He did a very compelling interview with Newsmax over the weekend. I listened to him. The guy, now again, he and I disagree on a host of things. Elon Musk and I disagree on a host of things. But do they sound like they're sane? Yeah, of course. Of course, they just have different opinions. And Robert F. Kennedy is clearly distraught by what he sees happening inside the Democrat Party right now. And he's talking about it. And this is why the left is just so upset and angry. You got one Democratic strategist saying that RFK Jr., or he's telling RFK Jr. that Bobby Kennedy, his father, would be appalled after this Trump endorsement. So here's a top Democrat strategist who thinks what? That he knows Kennedy's father better than Kennedy does? Or is it an issue of what your father would, what his reaction would be? Again, I just think a lot of that is Democrat teeth gnashing. They're gnashing their teeth. And it's like, and here's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. again. I don't agree with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on a host of different things. Does he sound like a nut to you? Does he sound like he's just absolutely off his rocker? He said, this was yesterday, and he said that the term "Make America Great Again" should be embraced, he said. And he went on to talk about it in a post on X. He said the phrase has troubled liberals who think it is a call for a return to an America before civil rights, gay rights, and women's rights. But I have a more generous interpretation, one that is truer to my experience of Donald Trump as he is today. Make America Great Again recalls a nation brimming with vitality, with a can-do spirit, with hope and a belief in itself. It was an America that was beginning to confront its darker shadows, could acknowledge the injustice in its past and present, yet at the same time could celebrate its successes. It was a nation of broad prosperity, the world's most vibrant middle class, and an idealistic belief, though not consistently applied, in freedom, justice, and democracy. It was a nation that led the world in innovation, productivity, and technology, and it was the healthiest country in the world. This is RFK Jr. He says, I have talked to many Trump supporters. I have talked with his inner circle. I have talked to the man himself. This is the America they want to restore. That's what he's saying. Now, does that sound, again, you got the Kennedy family huffing and puffing over his decision, and you listen to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the guy doesn't sound nuts. I mean, he's, again, and he disagrees with Trump, and he's also talked about that. You know, I disagree with Trump on some of these things, and there are a number of different things we disagree on, but on this, we share a vision for what's going on in the country. So the question is, how much, this is a headline at ABC News, and I thought it was a little bit thought-provoking. How much momentum will this endorsement by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. give to Donald Trump? It'll be interesting to, I think it'll be interesting to see. So we'll talk about that in more detail. You can drop me an email, of course, anytime. greg.belfrage@kelo.com is my email address, greg.belfrage@kelo.com. So the U.S. Secret Service is ending its protection for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. now that he is no longer a candidate. So once a candidate announces they're dropping out of the race, Secret Service has several options available to them. They can scale back service, they can drop service entirely, and that's what they've done. Speaking of the, I wanted to make sure because they had some. Oh, we'll talk about this more coming up about the upcoming debate. Donald Trump had made a comment about on True Social, and I had it, and now I get somewhere buried in my stack of stuff. Yep. So I got it right in front of me, and I'm not seeing it. Donald Trump talking about the debate on September 5th with him and Kamala Harris on ABC News, and he is suggesting that potentially he may not do the debate. And I'll be curious to get your thoughts on that, as to whether or not you think Donald Trump should do that September 5th debate. How would you think? Because again, it's an ABC News debate. In ABC News, Trump went off on Jonathan Karl here over the weekend. And if I want to know what Donald Trump was saying, rather than looking for media reports, I go right to Donald Trump's True Social account. Because I would like to see exactly what he's saying. Because all of the reports that they're doing are nothing but those comments from True Social anyway. And then they build around that with a bunch of reaction from other people that, in some cases, I care what they've got to say about it, and others not so much. So Donald Trump suggesting that perhaps he may not do the ABC News debate coming up on September 5th. He's just suggesting that. He's not saying that outright. And there's a story on that this morning at the Washington Examiner, among a few other places. So we'll talk about that in more detail coming up. Also, there are 5 Secret Service agents who have been placed on modified duty after the assassination attempt on Trump earlier this summer. They include, and this is a story from Oregon Live, they include the special agent in charge, and amazingly to me, this story is not trending this morning. It should be. It's a huge story. They include the special agent in charge of the Pittsburgh field office, 3 other agents assigned to that office, which was responsible for the security planning ahead of the July rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. One of the 5 agents was assigned to Trump's protective detail, so he couldn't publicly disclose details of the investigation into these personnel, and was speaking only under the condition of anonymity. So these agents are on administrative leave, meaning that they cannot do investigative or protective work. So Fox News reported that a different group of Secret Service agents assigned specifically to Trump's security detail remains operational. So the investigations into what happened there continues, but you've got those 5 Secret Service agents getting new duties, and Oregon Live's got a piece saying what we know about why they were, reassigned. Well, what we know isn't much. Also, a group of U.S. lawmakers on that task force then to look into the assassination attempt against Trump, they will be visiting Butler, Pennsylvania today, the site of the scene of the shooting. Some for the second time since it happened. So House Speaker Mike Johnson and Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries announced the establishment of this task force. And so they will be there today looking into this. Donald Trump has got, he did an exclusive interview with Breitbart News talking about the assassination attempt. I'm going to share this with you in more detail this morning. It's a pretty comprehensive interview with Trump. And I'm looking, it's printed out, it's like 10 pages, and most of it is quotes from Donald Trump. So he's talking about the moment it happened, and he's explaining why he got up and yelled, "Fight, fight, fight." And he said a lot of times, he said, I was thinking about this. It would seem like a surreal moment, like you don't realize almost where you are. He said, I never felt that. I knew immediately I got hit by a bullet. Trump told Breitbart. So we'll talk about that in more detail this morning. Another big story had J.D. Vance doing an interview on NBC's Meet the Press over the weekend and saying that Donald Trump would not support a national abortion ban. And Vance said, I can absolutely commit to that. He said, Donald Trump's view is that we want the individual states and their individual cultures and their unique political sensibilities to make these decisions, because we don't want to have a nonstop federal conflict over this issue. And then we've got Elizabeth Warren, who is pushing back against that on Meet the Press. American women are not stupid. We're not going to trust the futures of our daughters and granddaughters to two men who have openly bragged about blocking access to abortion. J.D. Vance is saying what Donald Trump has been saying. And it doesn't matter how many times they say it. You've got those like Elizabeth Warren and a number of others who just refuse to hear what's being said. And they have repeated this over and over again. And then you've got those that, I'll give you an example. There's a piece this morning at Axios.com, Philip Klein, who is the editor of National Review Online. He wrote Friday in a piece called Trump's Abandonment of Pro-Lifers is Complete. So now the fact that Donald Trump is out there and saying we're going to leave it up to the states. Some pro-lifers apparently are feeling that as a total abandonment of the issue. That's the reactions going on out there. It's not the way, by the way, I do not view it that way at all. I'm a very staunchly pro-life. And the idea that we could, I think Donald Trump recognizes that politically speaking on a national level, you think you're going to solve that issue on the national level? You think you're going to be in this world as it in the country as it exists right now? Do you think you'd be able to solve that issue? The right to life? See, I don't think so. I'm very pro-life. That's why I love South Dakota, and we're a very pro-life state. I believe that life begins at conception. Honestly believe that. But the fighting that on the national level right now, when Americans can't agree on anything, let alone an issue that has become as divisive as abortion. Also this morning, or I should mention that House Speaker Mike Johnson was in Minnesota yesterday to drum up support for Joe Tarab, who is a Republican challenger. Tarab, I think, is the way it's pronounced. It's Joe Tarab. And so Mike Johnson showed up at the Minneapolis 3rd Police Precinct, which was burned out. Johnson used it to point out what he called Governor Tim Walz's failed policies. Said Tim Walz and Democrats in Minneapolis allowed Minneapolis to burn for nearly an entire day before doing it all. From the records on the riots and the crime to the economy to the woke ideology and to the border, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are simply too extreme for the American people. And then this issue of no taxes on tips. It's Fortune. Fortune has got a piece that Donald Trump and Kamala Harris and their no taxes on tips proposal, hugely popular and unfair, says Fortune.com. And that's worth discussing, I think, in a little bit more detail. And that's a look at some of the big stories this morning. Thank you so much for starting your day with the Greg Belfrage Show. I very much appreciate it. This hour of our program brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
528 Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is brought to you by Tires.
Okay. See in-store details about how to get rebates from major tire manufacturers. 2 Sioux Falls locations to serve you.
We don't just meet expectations, we exceed them. We don't just follow best practices.
A lot of stories this morning that are trending regarding Robert F. Kennedy Jr. That and his squabbles amongst his family, and it's really a big story.
Legacy of betterment for generations to come. Here's to the future where we continue to get better together. Mitchell Roofing and Siding. Call us today, 996.
But the reaction, and I just don't get this, that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is taking a position and his family, how disrespectful it is to his father. What? I mean, if I take a position, I don't mean it to be disrespectful to my father. In fact, that doesn't even enter into my thoughts. You're your own person, right? Hopefully that's why our parents had us, to be our own people, to come to our own conclusions. It's a bit crazy. But what else is new? Okay, let's see what's going on in the Kello.com newsroom. Here we go.
Term providers help thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-345-2789. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-345-2789. Big Lou will answer your call and work to get you a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-345-2789.
6:30, partly cloudy and 76 at Kello. Joe Bowman is in the Kello.com News Center. Coming up, Sioux Falls police are investigating a homicide in a Sioux Falls neighborhood park. Joe will have the details on that. Also, the latest job numbers for South Dakota have been released. He'll also take a look at Canaries baseball for you. So, Kello.com news coming up in moments. Great to have you along this morning. 6:30, you're listening to the Greg Belfrage Show on Kello.
I'm Chris Foster. An Israeli naval officer and 3 Hezbollah fighters in Lebanon are reported killed in a barrage of cross-border attacks.
Israel taking out this preemptive attack, deploying 100 fighter jets to hit 40 Hezbollah launch sites in southern Lebanon and destroyed thousands of Hezbollah rocket launcher barrels. Now, according to Israeli intelligence, Hezbollah was within minutes of launching a wider attack.
Fox's Alex Hogan. Gunmen kill at least 31 people in Pakistan.
23 people were shot dead after being forced from their vehicles. It's reported the attackers demanded to see ID, murdering those found to be from the Punjab region. In a separate attack, gunmen killed at least 9 people, including 4 police officers and 5 passers-by.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. Former President Trump lays a wreath at Arlington National Cemetery this morning. It's 3 years since the deaths of 13 Americans in Afghanistan. Americans listening to Fox News.
Hello, News Time, 6:31. I'm Joe Bowman in the Kello.com News Center. Police are investigating a homicide in a Sioux Falls neighborhood park. Officers were dispatched to Dunham Park in West Sioux Falls on reports of gunshots yesterday afternoon. Police discovered one individual deceased and a number of others with sustained injuries. Further details will be released later this morning following a police briefing. South Dakota landowners fighting a proposed carbon capture pipeline just won a major victory. The High Court ruled against Summit Carbon Solutions, the company that wants to build the line, on the issue of invasive surveys of private land. Pipeline opponent Ed Fishbach is all smiles.
We have been vindicated on every count.
And Fishbach says the Supreme Court didn't stop there.
And they went further and ruled that Summit is not a common carrier. That takes out eminent domain. And the third thing they went and ruled that the CO2 in this case is not a commodity.
The ruling could also create problems for Summit in Iowa. Iowa regulators approved Summit's request for a permit to build the line, but that approval was contingent on approval in the Dakotas. The latest job numbers for South Dakota have been released. South Dakota's unemployment rate is holding steady at 2%. Last month, construction and retail saw the highest growth of all other job sectors. Construction has seen the biggest increase with over 2,000 jobs added in the last 12 months. Low unemployment in the Sioux Falls area continues to outperform the state and the U.S. Minnehaha and Lincoln counties are at 1.7 and 1.5% respectively. The unemployment rate in the U.S. is 4.3. And in Canaries baseball, the Birds wrapped up their 3-game series against Fargo-Moorhead on Sunday, losing to the Red Hawks 9-2. The Canaries pummeled the Hawks on Friday 7-1, but Fargo answered back with a 12-8 victory on Saturday. The Birds play the Sioux City Explorers tomorrow. From the Kello.com News Center, I'm Joe Bowman.
The news never stops. Kello, News Talk 1320, 107.9.
Weather brought to you by Intech Cleaning and Restoration. If you need it clean, call the Intech team. IntechClean.com.
Good morning. Another hot and humid day today. High of 90 in Sioux Falls with a light northeast wind at 5 to 10. There is the potential for severe weather. First outlook north of Sioux Falls, mainly by mid to late afternoon. We'll watch for that. And then a secondary line of storms will come in from the west by mid to late evening. Keep an eye to the sky. From the Storm Center at Kettleland TV, I'm meteorologist Brian Karstens.
What was that?
I just want to bring up a point here.
This is where to go when you've got something to say. You have to tell these people what they want to know. Kello, News Talk 1320, 107.9.
If you've ever wondered just how deeply our government monitors you, look no further than the Swifties, Taylor Swift superfans. Even they're on the government's radar. I'm Kim Commando for LinkedIn Jobs. Post a job for free and find qualified candidates quickly at linkedin.com/Kim. Why in the world are we monitoring Swifties? Well, it's because we can. The Department of Defense monitors the entire internet all the time. ISIS, the terror group, was planning to kill Taylor Swift when she appeared in Vienna with her Eras tour. The Vienna date was skipped, costing untold millions in concert sales. Out of the billions of texts flying around, Defense Department officials picked up that Taylor Swift fans were alarmed by the planned attack. Why they needed to watch the Swifties when it was all over TMZ is beyond my pay grade. Here's the takeaway. If they're watching the text of a 14-year-old girl, you can bet the farm they're watching you and me all the time. If you're not tech ahead, you will be left tech behind. That's why you need my newsletter at getkim.com. When hiring for a small business, you want quality professionals who are right for the role and your team. That's why I use LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to find the right people for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn is not just another job board. You get access to LinkedIn's vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, many of whom you won't find anywhere else. That's why it's simply the best place to hire. LinkedIn does all that while making the process simple and intuitive. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. In fact, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn knows that as a small business, you might not have the time or resources to spend on hiring. That's why LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make it simpler, like the new feature to help write job descriptions. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/Kim. That's linkedin.com/Kim to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. That's linkedin.com/Kim.
The Kim Commando Show, live Saturday mornings at 9. Kello, News Talk 1320, 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is brought to you by Tires.
Thing about Mondays is, man, there are a lot of stories that are trending. I've got generally then 3 days of stories to share with you that are trending that you've not heard on the program.
It's the final week. Come in today and get huge savings on all your favorite men's fashions during the Halberstadt summer clearance. Up to 50% off on sports coats, suits, shirts, and more. Now at Halberstadt's Galleria location, 41st and Louise, next to Starbucks.
I'm going to let you in on a little wireless hack that can cut your cell phone bill in half every single month. Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile, they want you to believe that you need unlimited data so they can overcharge you. Well, here's the fact. Most of you are buying way more data than you'll ever need. Now, Pure Talk, my cell phone company, only charges you for data that you actually need. For example, for $25 a month, you can get unlimited talk, unlimited text, and 5 gigs of data plus mobile hotspot. $25. And do you know what you can do with 5 gigs of data? Well, you can browse the internet for 135 hours, stream 1,000 songs, and watch 10 hours of video. Stop overpaying for wireless. Get 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword save now. Check in with one of Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team members. No contract assigned, no activation fee, and you can even keep your phone and your phone number. Pound 250, keyword save now. Do it now. You save an additional 50% off your first month from Pure Talk.
Inflation, the economy, what's happening on Capitol Hill. Kello doesn't just bring you the news. We bring you the news that affects you with great opinions from here in South Dakota. And
running out of time.
Kello, News Talk 1320, 107.
638. Partly cloudy, and it's pretty hazy out there. I'm seeing a lot of haze out the window this morning. A pretty hazy 76 currently at Kello. This hour of the Greg Belfrage Show brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
What's trending now?
Add them on Facebook.
Let the tweeting begin. The hashtag does that. News and views from Belf's News Gallery.
Well, the campaign of Kamala Harris has announced $540 million raised since the launch of her campaign, and driven by a lot of donations by the Democratic National Committee. So she has raised $540 million since launching her presidential campaign. That is the only story about Kamala Harris that's trending. That was trending over the weekend or this morning. That's the only one. Also, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., number of stories revolving around Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He dropped out of his presidential campaign, ended his presidential campaign on Friday, and endorsed Donald Trump. And then he went on to make a guest appearance at Donald Trump's rally in Arizona following the endorsement. Kennedy was greeted by thundering applause as he took the stage to music by the Foo Fighters. More on that because that's trending also this morning. And pyrotechnics And he was introduced by Trump as a man who has been an incredible champion for so many of these values that we all share. We are both in this to do what's right for the country, Trump said. And he later commended Kennedy for having raised critical issues that have been too long ignored in this country. So Robert F. Kennedy Jr. endorsing Trump and then joining him on the stage hours later. Now, also regarding Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a judge has ruled that RFK can proceed with his lawsuit alleging the Biden administration censored his anti-vax charity. So he's claiming that the Children's Health Defense Charity, which questions vaccine safety, was censored on social media sites like Facebook, X, and YouTube for misinformation, and the administration had pressured the sites to do so. So now this lawsuit, a judge has ruled, yeah, you move forward with the lawsuit against the social media sites responsible. Also, you've got multiple members of the Kennedy family now who are criticizing RFK's endorsement of Donald Trump, calling it a betrayal, throwing their weight behind Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. So the move has been met with strong disapproval from his siblings. There was a statement shared by Kerry Kennedy, signed by her 4 other siblings, read, "We believe in Harris and Walz. Our brother Bobby's decision to endorse Trump today is a betrayal of the values that our father and our family hold most dear." How do you reconcile that when you have a member of your family who just, obviously there are some of the members of the Kennedy family who absolutely believe in the Democrat Party. RFK Jr. is distraught about what he sees happening in the Democrat Party. And he is not he is not one of those that's going to be out there, just in agreement with Trump on every issue under the sun. In fact, he's been very outspoken on things that he and Donald Trump disagree on. So he's not changing where he stands on the values at all. He's just saying that what's happened to today's Democrat Party, pretty shocking to him. And then you see his family reacting that way. Pretty incredible. All right, let's see what else is trending outside of RFK Jr. Also, the leader of Hamas, Yahya Sinwar, is, according to reports, stalling ceasefire negotiations because he's got a new demand: don't kill me. So he is insisting that his life be spared as a condition for a deal. Also trending this morning, family members of Americans that were murdered by migrants joined Donald Trump at an Arizona border event. So families from Texas and Maryland shared details of the deaths that their loved ones face at the hands of illegal immigrants. And Donald Trump going on offense then against Kamala Harris on the issue of immigration. And so Donald Trump brought out these mothers, and one of them who said, "Take to heart what we are saying." Also, we had J.D. Vance, who was on NBC's Meet the Press over the weekend. And Vance saying that Donald Trump would veto a federal abortion ban. He was asked about this, and he said, yeah, he believes that Donald Trump would veto it, he said. He said explicitly that he would. Trump said back in April that he would not sign a nationwide abortion ban. Democrats don't believe that. They're very distrustful of that. And so J.D. Vance repeating what Trump himself has said, that Trump would veto a national abortion ban. Also trending this morning, Matthew Crooks, the attempted assassin who recently tried to kill Donald Trump. He used encrypted messaging accounts in Belgium, Germany, and New Zealand. So Matthew Crooks had encrypted accounts overseas. And Representative Mike Waltz, no relation to Tim Walz. This is Representative Waltz, who, looking into this, and last week said that Crooks had these accounts on platforms based in Germany, Belgium, and New Zealand. So this is a story that was trending late last week. NASA has made a decision to keep 2 astronauts in space until February and have nixed the decision to return them using a capsule by Boeing. Instead, they're turning to SpaceX to bring the astronauts home. And folks over at Boeing are just incensed about this. Folks at Boeing are upset that they're turning to SpaceX to bring these astronauts home. So again, they've been given months here, they've been given time, and it's been one obstacle after another for Boeing. And they're saying, oh, we can figure it out. And so NASA is saying, yeah, we prefer not to wait. And so Boeing is pretty upset. It'll be SpaceX that brings those stranded astronauts back home. Also, Hezbollah's attack on Israel. Hezbollah is saying the first phase of its attacks against Israel are complete. And this marks the first phase. So the first phase of their attack is over after an exchange of strikes with Israel over the course of the last week. And now Israel responding, they launched a preemptive strike in Lebanon to prevent a large-scale attack by Hezbollah. And Israeli Defense Forces say that Hezbollah targets posed an imminent threat to Israeli civilians. So alarms have been sounding in the Middle East. And again, IDF saying this was a preventive attack against Hezbollah. And there's some video of these rocket launches taking place. Also, Ukraine says it has recaptured land in the Kharkiv region, reversing gains that Russia had made. So Ukraine's military used high-precision glide bombs that were supplied by the United States to strike the Kursk region in Russia, resulting in Russian casualties, the destruction of equipment there as well. So Ukraine saying they've recaptured land in the Kharkiv region. Also, the U.S. Navy is going to be sidelining 17 ships due to a manpower shortage. And this is all due to manpower issues. So the Navy plans to place 17 vessels, including 2 expeditionary sea bases and a dozen expeditionary fast transports into extended maintenance because they don't have enough people to crew the ships. So the move was confirmed by defense officials, and they aim to reduce the demand for civilian mariners by up to 700 billets, with crews then being assigned to other ships in the fleet. So not enough people to staff the ships. Also, the founder of Telegram has been arrested in France, according to reports. He is the 39-year-old tech chief and was detained after his private jet landed on the outskirts of Paris. And news broadcasters have been quoting unnamed sources as saying the tech chief, again, he's an entrepreneur who was born in Russia, became a French citizen in 2021. He was the subject of a search warrant. So he was arrested at an airport in France. Authorities are accusing Telegram of being an accomplice to drug trafficking, pedophilia, and fraud. And so he was arrested at a French airport. Also trending this morning, Gavin Newsom joked about Kamala Harris receiving the Democratic nomination without a primary. So he said that he was joking about it. Newsweek says, quoted Newsom as saying, "We went through a very open process and a very inclusive process, a 30-minute convention between tweets and other tweets. It's amazing. And you know, what is amazing is how unified everyone is. I mean, it's next level," Gavin Newsom said. Daily Caller's got a piece that about a someone who's saying that it was a blitz or a blink primary. It's a former Obama staffers giggled about it. One who said it was a very, very fast blitz. It was a blink primary. That's what you call that. So it happened in the blink of an eye. That's the Democrat Party today for you. So we've got the Foo Fighters saying, well, the Trump campaign didn't have permission to use their song at this rally in Arizona, and that the Trump campaign was not authorized to use My Hero at their rally with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And in fact, they did. They did have the rights to the song. So the independent review documents appearing to confirm that the campaign had indeed licensed the song from BMI Songview service, and a campaign spokesperson said, "We have a license to play the song." And so a Trump campaign spokesperson said, it's times like these, facts matter. Don't be a pretender, he said. So the Foo Fighters out there, oh, they didn't have the rights to the song. No, they did. They did. Which is generally the case. You don't think the Donald Trump campaign has learned the hard way, because every time one of these songs gets used, groups stand up belly aching about it. They didn't have the rights to that song. We don't support the Trump campaign. They paid for the rights. It's just much ado about nothing, my friend. Also, we have the first NCAA football game of the season, and Georgia Tech stuns number 10 Florida State in the first NCAA football game of the season. We've got Justin and Haley Bieber welcoming a baby boy. Jack Blues. So the couple announced that they were expecting a baby in May by Instagram post. So since the pregnancy announcement, the couple have each shared photos together and of Hailey Bieber that displayed the model's baby bump. And so now they have welcomed a baby boy. Also, Babe Ruth's called shot jersey. It's the one where he called a shot wearing that jersey, has sold for a record $24 million at auction. $24 million for Babe Ruth's called shot jersey. Also, soccer player Brittany Mahomes under fire for liking an Instagram post from Donald Trump. So that's bringing all kinds of condemnation from people on the left. You may have seen this over the weekend. This German warship was blasting the Darth Vader anthem, the Imperial March. So I've got it here. So they're blasting, this ship was blasting the Darth Vader theme, and they're saying, no, there was no evil intent in playing the Darth Vader theme. And that's a look at the stories trending this morning in Belf's News Gallery. Great to have you along this morning. We have got news headlines on the way. Currently, partly cloudy and 76 at Kello. This hour of the Greg Belfrage Show brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month. Again, currently partly cloudy, 76 at Kello.
Outer space and beyond.
Well, thank you so much, my friend, for letting me join you this morning. Hope you'll return to YouTube at 9:30 for the 4th hour of the Greg Belfrage Show. I hope to see you then. So long until next time, my friend, and may God bless.